He ended up killing himself because of the regret of what he did.
Yeah.
And
the irony.
You think about all the people you read through the scriptures, of all the horrible things that happened and the amount of grace that was offered to people who could turn their lives around. And you know that same grace was available for Judas.
You don't think what goes on behind the scenes when you're trying to put something together. Very tedious. The tape, that's what it felt like, little glue things. And then the structure, I was trying to look at how the way Jonathan was doing it, and it's confusing. I think we did pretty well. No. Cameras are not pointing that way, is it? Cause,
They can see it.
oh, dang. Well, nobody's going to hire me to go put soundproof in their room, so.
No, and it's still not done. I mean, we're totally under construction, but there's a TV going in, there's shelves going in.
Lights.
I feel like part of the deal is you just want to break up the image. So, like at our last location, it was just a white wall behind us. That's awful. Breaks every rule of video. But you know, just the red breaks it up. It gives you kind of a leading line behind the person. But having some trinkets behind you and stuff, it'll look good.
Trinkets.
So we didn't have this over there at the other studio?
Not on the sides, no.
There's only
It was just all black. Now I am going to hang the flags too. That'll look good.
German flag.
So they should be able to hear us better, or just prevents the echo from...
Yeah, the echo last week was bad, if y'all remember. Pretty rough.
Are we going to hang a El Paso flag?
They have one, specifically. You want me to bring it? I can go bring it. Are we going to have a German flag?
Oh, yeah.
They have,
they have that.
They have a city flag.
Yep.
Is that a thing? Does Houston have a flag?
Yes, Houston has a city flag. Okay, I think I'm just making up a lot of stuff right now.
I'm
Honestly,
pretty sure
I don't.
you are.
Wait, where's your laptop? You're the man behind all the knowledge. You're able to find it. No, I think each city does have, because I thought I saw it at the Humboldt Parade. I thought I saw it at the parade they had for each city have it. But no, you don't have to bring a flag. I'm just kidding. You can if you want.
Do cities have flags?
I think so.
Every state and territory of the U.S. has their own flag. Most cities and counties, too. What?
Yeah, because what's the flag that's
I'm
up there
getting
by...
an East Montgomery County flag.
What's the flag that's over there by San Antonio? Because I know a lot about history. What's the flag that's by not the Alamo flag?
That was a conspiracy, right?
Oh, of course, that did not happen. Anyways, so what's the city by San Antonio that was involved in the war? Was that LaGrange? Come on,
Yeah.
are you gonna say just because you're not from here, you would know, Jonathan? Help me out.
LaGrange, yeah.
Yeah,
That's part of the war.
It was a flag where it was like a half cannon. Is it the come and take it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? See? Miss McGraw, thank you.
I
You did
don't
good.
think that's a city flag.
For the come and take it? That was part of their city. They're like, come and take it from my city.
I mean, just because it was made in a city doesn't make it a city flag.
No. Yeah, but
That was your argument.
No, my argument was that the flag was from that city where it said come and take me. Do I have to go back to Jonathan? Listen with your mind, not your ears.
If I make a flag for whatever cause I want to make a flag for in Houston, Texas, does that make it the Houston flag?
If you want it to be. Wherever you put your mind to. You found it to come. I thought it was from that particular city. I thought it had the city name underneath it. I swear I thought it did. Okay, well.
You were wrong.
No, so the topic of the day, resistance training, right?
As we sit here and eat popcorn and drink C4 and do that, no. Well, that only carries over from the weekend because I actually had an opportunity to see you on Sunday speak on it. And I thought it was it really, really was really interesting to correlate the resistance training and how you have to also strengthen your faith in God and the belief. And I love the concept of the iron sharpen iron as one sharpens another. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Just that concept. I mean, I've spent 25 years learning about resistance training, and to hear that in comparison, it makes it easier for me to continue to try to make that connection, for which I owe it to you guys for opening that side to me and opened it to be more faith-based and belief. I mean, I think I've always had it, but not to this extent to where I'm understanding it a lot more. Oh. Way better than Miss McGraw would have ever taught me. 20 years from now, I can give you guys way more credit, and then it's actually credible. So, so what did you think about it? And I think we were talking about it this morning, but I didn't get your take on it.
Well, I think there's a lot of parallels between, lifestyle, physical lifestyle, and then your spiritual lifestyle. And we've been going through that series at church, and I've learned a lot just because some guys are bringing up different aspects and different perspectives. Not everybody there works out, and they're giving a perspective of what they've learned or what they've known or whatever. And so as far as Sunday's topic, I thought it was very relevant to what, like a band of brothers. It's hard for me to go to the gym by myself. But if I have a partner, someone who's going to do it with me, accountability, someone who's going to sharpen me, that helps. That helps motivate me. And that's just one side of that training, that accountability or whatever. And so as I know he reaches his goals and I'm reaching my goals, we're working together and standing in the gap for one another. And that's really what it's about, is just making sure we're there for one another. That can go into other things, And so that was my big takeaway, is just making sure that I'm there for whoever I'm going to the gym with, and making sure that I'm being an aid to them and standing there holding him up while he's holding me up,
What about the ones that do not participate? Because one of the things I was thinking about while Jonathan was speaking was, I wonder about the people that they have no activity in their life, and he's presenting such an awesome presentation on why it's important.
Well, before we go further, let's clarify what happened. So Sunday, at church, we've been going through a series on a better body. And the Bible talks about the church as a body made up of different hands and feet and legs and all the different parts of your body that have to work together to make life happen. And in a similar manner, a church has different people with different functions that are all a part of the same body, right? So that basic concept. And the New Testament uses a lot of references to sports and physical training as it relates to training yourself spiritually and that sort of thing. And then uses a lot of physical examples, how the body works, to talk about how the church works, and then you could extrapolate that to just how groups of people that have to work together work, right? So the topic Sunday that I was talking about was resistance training, the iron sharpening iron. Meaning, if you want to get stronger physically, you have to push against heavier and heavier weight over time. If you want to get stronger spiritually, you have to build your spiritual discipline over time. If you want to help each other to get stronger spiritually and in faith and those sorts of things, you have to be able to push each other harder and harder over time. And that's where accountability and all those sorts of principles come in. So, when Paul used the Olympics as an example for spiritual training as it relates to physical training and making that comparison, he was talking to people who were familiar with Olympic sports, right? He had a line that said, to the Jews, I'm a Jew, and to the Greeks, I'm a Greek. He tried to learn about people's cultures so that he could use things from their culture to try to relate to them and teach. And so while everyone there may not work out or whatever, through this series we've covered a lot of different things. I mean, one of the first topics was about the what was Timothy's topic, James? Interdependency of the body, right? So how everyone relies on each other, just like everything in your body relies on each other. And so he talked about the circular system, how if one thing in the circular system goes wrong, the whole circular system stops working, the nervous system, all these different systems in your body. And so sometimes when you're talking to a crowd of people who may not go to the gym or may not be familiar with the sport that you play or whatever, you kind of have to explain the sport to then be able to make the correlation, make it make sense. But through this series, we've been able to cover a lot of different facets of that to try to make comparisons that everybody is going to be able to relate to and understand. And so I just think it's been interesting. We do have a lot of people at our church that are involved in some sort of physical fitness and that sort of thing. But one of the things I was talking about Sunday is that discipline is a muscle that has to be worked over time. And I meant to use that phrase in particular because if I can't turn down the Dr. Pepper that I want to drink, then how am I going to have the discipline it takes to turn down whatever really bad thing for me spiritually that I want to do, I know I shouldn't do, but is very tempting for me to do, right? Because there's all kinds of things in the world that are great temptations for people. And so you want to daily instill that kind of discipline in yourself. And so I think the gym just happens to be a great example of that, because it's something you don't want to do every day, unfortunately. I don't care how much you love the gym. Eventually, you're going to hit a day where you just don't want to go, but it's that kind of discipline. And when you set those sorts of things up in your life, whatever that is for different people, I think it goes a long way in your spiritual discipline as well.
Yeah, I think one of the topics that you had covered was actually speaking on how if you're, how you physically take care of your body or your mindset, that it'll put you in a better position to be more aware of sinful activities. And that kind of hit a chord, because I literally have felt that even though I've always been involved in athletic and sports, I feel that I started seeing a lot more transition in how much more I enjoyed working out, to where it wasn't, because I think I normally have a kind of an addictive behavior where I just got so used to working out and just going to the gym every day, but it did get to a point where I just was bored. I just wasn't enjoying it. And I can notice in those parts of my life, the decisions I was making outside in the real world, that, I would sit there and use the gym as an escape. And I used to say the gym was my sanctuary because it was a place to escape for refuge and, hardship. But I'm like, I'm the one that's causing the hardship in the outside world. But then also I don't think I had a good circle of people to say, hey, you need to do this. And that all tied in with the iron sharpen iron. I can look back and I was like, you know what? I really didn't have a good circle of people that really had a good foundation of faith. And obviously nobody's going to be a perfect. You discussed it, you mentioned it. But I saw that once I started kind of being around a lot more positive people, even in my setting, I started realizing that it started correlating with my workouts. I started feeling a little bit more better. Spiritually, I felt better. Physically, I felt better. It was just and that's one of the things that it was just so ironic that it came up with that.
I think one underused or undermentioned ability that everyone has or should have and continue to work better at is having that self-discipline. Because self-discipline and self-recognition is important for any aspect of life. Physically, you've got to be disciplined to be in a physical, healthy state. And that sometimes means not consuming the sodas or the desserts or the overindulgence or whatever. You have to have self-discipline. But that goes into work. You can overwork yourself to where you're then injuring your body and you're not being disciplined with how you're managing life. It could go into finance. You're overly using or you're overly investing, and it's a lot of risk. And yeah, there may be a reward, but man, you could do it so much that then it becomes a gambling and addiction. And there's just so many. If you have self-discipline, you're a well-rounded person, then that's what help balance those low times and high times. It kind of keeps you even keel. So I think self-discipline is super important, especially when we talk about those sorts of things. Iron sharpens iron. So
the kind of opening, I think it was the first week, and James was involved in this topic, but it was the whole person, right? So we're made up of not just body, but of mind and of soul, right? So when you take all of that into account and you think, how do I become a more disciplined person in all of those aspects? What are you going to start your day with? You're probably going to start your day with something like a prayer to get yourself in the right spiritual space for the day. You're probably going to start it with some sort of physical activity to get yourself in the right blood pumping and those sorts of things to give you the energy you need for your day. And then you think about mind. You may read something. You may maybe that part of your prayer is you're thinking about things important to you. You're getting your mind in the right space for your work and those sorts of things. And when you start your day thinking about, okay, how do I start out in the most disciplined state for my soul, most importantly, my mind and my body, then that changes the course of your day. And if you practice discipline in each of those areas, again, I think discipline across all three of those is the same muscle that you're working. And that's part of what we talked about Sunday was Paul's example of, quote unquote, enslaving your own body, meaning you tell your body what to do and not the other way around. And even if that stuff like the soda and the dessert and the silly, what seems like silly stuff throughout our lives, if we can train ourselves to be disciplined in all of those aspects, then we have now put our own body under subjection so that when the real temptations, whether it, whatever that is for somebody, substances, women, whatever is the shining, glimmering temptation to you in your life, you have that muscle built to where you say, no, I tell my body what to do, not the other way around. And so that quote unquote physical discipline has carryover into your mental and your spiritual space as well.
Yeah, that's why I'm not touching the popcorn no more. Because I haven't even said, I have not eaten popcorn in forever. Even when we go to the movies, the kids and the wife get it. And it was one of those kind of things. And I was like, temptation. I sat there and somebody popped it for me. And then all of a sudden I'm eating. I'm like, no, temptation, mine.
You still don't know how to pop a bag of popcorn?
No, I don't think I've ever popped a bag of popcorn in my life.
The first bag of popcorn he's ever popped in his life.
That was... I was like, no, because y'all laughed at me because I said, am I supposed to open this up? Because there's certain things that you microwave and you have to like tear it open a little bit.
You weren't talking about the plastic, were you?
Plastic popcorn? What is plastic?
The plastic like wrapper around the popcorn. You opened that, right?
Oh, well, thank you, James. I did. But your brother helped me, so I don't want to take all the credit, but that, I mean, those are even the simple temptations where, I mean, I remember growing up as kids. My mom would always get popcorn. I thought I loved popcorn with a whole bunch of butter. But the self-discipline, and that's how you get into it. But it's still ever, you're always learning. You're always making adjustments. You're always trying to find, not necessarily an easier way, but a more efficient way where you can incorporate that. Because it's hard. I mean, I don't think we're up here saying that you can get your mind, body, and soul strong, within a few weeks, few days. I mean, I'm 46 years old, and I still think I'm learning.
Or ever reach an ultimate level of discipline in any of those areas, right?
But self-discipline requires sacrifice. And so what that may mean is you're sacrificing your own will or desire for said thing. You want to get fit and get in the gym. That means you might have to sacrifice that you're not a morning person and you need to get up. Or after work, you're going to hit the gym. Or it may mean you're sacrificing and not going back and getting desserts or sweets, or you're cutting out certain things. That's a sacrifice. It's not going to be fun for a while, but then you kind of get back into the swing of things. You get back into this rhythm where that's going to be easier. So it does require sacrifice. And it's the same thing on the spiritual side. You may not be able to hang out with that same crowd like you were talking about. Your influence changed. You changed who you were hanging out with. Well, that's a sacrifice because you're not spending time with those people anymore. You're going to try to think differently, act differently, talk differently. So that's a sacrifice. And maybe through that sacrifice, they see that goodness in you where then you are influencing them. But it does require sacrifice to be self-disciplined. So.
Yeah, so with this thing that you're doing at the church, it's just something for the 16 week or 16 day?
Okay, so that's a funny story. So it was 8 weeks to a better body.
8 weeks
was the name of the series, meaning body of Christ, obviously. But there were some interruptions with church activities, guest speakers that came into town that we put into the mix, so that 8 weeks became more than 8 weeks because there were a bunch of breaks in the middle of it. So that was just a joke when I said 16.
Instead of it being consecutive Sundays of doing these topics, it broke up throughout the year.
Right.
So
over a few months. But anyway, it was 8 weeks to a better body, and part of what our pastors were trying to do, they'll give us a series occasionally, and I'm just going to try to psychoanalyze our pastors for a second and say it's probably based on trends they're seeing in the congregation, topics that they feel like people need to learn or we need to solidify or remind people of. And one of those things that they have mentioned recently is the body, how a body of believers works, and that we need participation from everybody. We need all hands on deck. We need people holding each other accountable and being that shoulder for each other and all of those sorts of things. We need relationships, because if you show up on Sunday to sit through a service and leave, then you're getting such a small portion of what church has to offer, right? The whole idea is for it to be a community of people for you. And so I think that's part of what they're trying to instill / reinstill / remind us of, and I think that was the purpose of the series.
No, because I was wondering if it was something that was being done because it was getting to the end of the year. You know, how everybody has like a New Year's resolution. Because, I mean, it could basically
that may
get
be
tied.
part of it too.
I mean,
Our pastors are very wise, so that may be part of it too. They're gearing up everybody for that first of the year too. I mean,
because the way I even look at it is how you can use it not just for the physical aspect, but the spiritual aspect. Like, you know what? And I'm not a real big fan of the whole New Year's thing, but it works for some people. They feel like they get a clean slate. They're like, all right, January 1st, I'm going to start that. It works for somebody. I don't know statistically if it's something that can be proven that, mentally, but some people do, to where people can also say, you know what, I need to, maybe I need to reevaluate the people I hang around with. Am I being sharpened or am I being dulled, and I look at that, and that's one of the things I left from there driving back home was, didn't listen to any music or anything, and just drove back. Just was thinking, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not a big New Year's guy, but for some reason, I'm looking forward to this year. And what do I need to do? What do I need to do to change to
patience.
Be better? Yeah. Yeah, by the way, I mentioned to your wife that y'all have a big date planned pretty soon.
Yeah.
So when the baby comes, you're going to be like, helicopter flying over Vegas, and, she better make it happen.
Yeah,
Don't make me look like a liar.
That's where my wife wants to go, is Vegas.
Yo, let's make it. I want to go.
That was
Let's
total
go.
sarcasm.
And you are not my wife.
Oh, man. I was really going to say we're going to double date and go to Vegas. Yes, I've been wanting to take my wife to Vegas. She hasn't been. I was like, nah, you got me on that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Veto.
Well, I do have to
Edit
say, I left you hanging last week, so my bad. And then there's another one on the video that I left you hanging, so there's two.
There's about 3 or 4.
Okay,
but
well, I didn't realize that one of our viewers was like, hey, you look like you're mad at Alex.
All the time.
I'm not mad.
That's why. I'm still wondering, can I give a shout out to your mother, who's a very sweet lady, but your mother mentioned to me the first thing when I had a chance to meet her on Sunday, she said, "You are nothing what I thought you would be." And I said, well, Michael probably said I have a face for radio and not for podcasts. And she was like, maybe. So I'm still
She's
still
like,
curious.
you do have a face.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're alive. You are a real person.
She's like, he's shorter in real life than I imagined.
I know. Next time she pats me on the head, I am not going for that no more. How you doing, Mr. Alex? I'm doing fine, ma'am. Thank you.
No, it was cool for you to come out too, because obviously there's a pretty good group of guys from our church that goes to your gym and has been trained by you and whatever, and so their wives and a couple of our friends, whatever, everybody knows the name Alex because they'll hear us talking about the gym. And so then you showed up, they're like, this is the Alex guy we've been hearing about for
I'm still not
2
sure how
years?
I'm taking that because, I think everybody said that. Oh, I've heard about you. Silence. And then I was like,
all
okay.
good things.
Yeah. Well, I think somebody actually told me 50-50. Tatum. I just remember her name is. Oh, I'm sorry if I said your name, Tatum. I wasn't calling you out. I don't think you meant it in a bad way.
Yeah.
At least she was on it.
He said, I hope you've heard good things. She said,
50-50. Yeah. So I just left it on there.
You know who her husband is?
Race.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, okay, well, that probably explains it. He goes, yeah, I've sent her some snap videos of you being crazy in the gym. Like, what? That's already building up the anticipation.
It's probably when we're like, may or may not be shooting the ball from the other side of the gym.
Oh, yeah. She's probably like, yeah, we're just.
Which our sponsor may or may not appreciate.
He was the first one doing it, too, so.
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, with that, we got to give him a shout out, Mr. Daniel Wood. He competed in his first powerlifting competition. I mean, I think that's what.
How'd that go?
I think what was awesome for the weekend, going into what Jonathan presented, leaving a weekend where I saw a lot of strength tested, basically a powerlifting meet, which is you have 3 chances to lift that you can most on a bench press and a deadlift. There was only 2 lifts. But in hindsight, I remember on Saturday that I did say, before everyone on my team lifted, I would say a quick little prayer, because injury, nobody ever wants injury, but it's inevitable. But at that point, I remember years ago that we would actually start off a meet with a prayer, and I used to thought that was so cool. and we don't do it anymore. And I could probably understand it's just maybe too many people would just be in disagreement with it, but I would do it, and I felt good. I felt comfortable doing it. And there was there was one guy who obviously he did get hurt on the deadlift, and I mean I even caught myself just kind of just kind of bow my head and just say, Lord, just please get him to the strength and hope he recovers. And he ended up having to come out of the meet, and then we go into Sunday. I didn't know what you were going to talk about because you didn't tell me when you were asking me some questions about resistance training. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, it's amazing. It was awesome.
It's crazy how that works. And me and Michael have had a lot of those moments recently where we'll be talking about a particular scripture and we go to church Sunday and what's the sermon on? That exact scripture. The Bible's a big book, and those 3 verses we were talking about just happens to be what's on Sunday. But no, the whole situation with Alex
sounding like
was
me right now.
Alex was
That's
funny.
bad.
I was stuttering bad. I couldn't get a single word out. So I sent Alex 6 questions, and they were questions about resistance training. So what are the benefits of resistance training? If someone's new to resistance training, how do you explain how it works and how they make progress? Questions like that. I sent those same questions to a couple other athletic trainers, personal trainers, and then I took those same questions, I sent them to a couple pastors. And I wanted to get the answers for the physical side of training and discipline, and then the spiritual side of training and discipline and accountability. And so I took the exact same questions. I sent them to the trainers and to the pastors. I told Alex nothing about what I was at. I just randomly sent him the questions. He answered them, and I didn't say anything else about him for months. And so then he showed up on Sunday. I was like, oh, by the way, your answers are about to be on the screen. I never told you what that was for.
What made it worse, he didn't even respond to my text my text message was literally about 13 pages because the questions, I was like, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's doing a project or it's an assignment. So I just went into bing. Okay, well, whatever. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that explains.
Yeah, he's taking pictures like that. Mom, that's me.
Yeah. Well, especially with the fact of how you were correlated to the scripture on that, because just by that. Now you're gonna me sounding like you again, me stuttering.
Bro, I said yeah with.
Well, what's so crazy is I thought your mic went off because your mouth was moving nonstop. And I didn't see anything. So I look at James like, I don't know anything technical about all this. Bro. So I went like this. I started pulling this down like that was going to help. Jonathan, do you need my help? Just pull your wire. Maybe that would happen.
I work so hard on the stutter thing, but sometimes I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you were like literally, the lips were just... You were like, it was literally like this. You were like this.
I literally, in my throat, it was like, I couldn't get the word out.
You had the words in your mind, but it definitely was not coming out. It just
my goodness.
You're lucky that Michael didn't spit some more C4 on you before, like he's done before. Because he looked at you like this. What was going on.
Like, say the words.
And he looks away. I'm still looking at you like, hey, I had a deaf cousin, so I think I know how to read lips pretty good, but I had no idea what you were saying. I had no idea. Man, you made me actually forget what I was saying, but in the correlation with
the
with
physical
the lifting
on one side
and for the fact of like having that belief. Oh, the iron sharpens, because one of the things that I saw the most, especially on Saturday, was that most of the time when you go to a competition, you're in teams, but there are obviously people who just show up by themselves, and I feel so bad. I feel sad for them because you need help warming up. Obviously, if you're on bench, you need somebody to spot for you. You need somebody to help load the weights. But I love the fact how it is so community driven, the sport of powerlifting, that, you would help, or you would see somebody who, kind of look around and they're going to, try to warm up on bench, and then somebody will run over there and spot them. And I was like, man, that's just good natured people. So, I don't know if they go to church, I don't know their beliefs, but it's just that, man, if you can just kind of continue to spread that word of how you can tie them together, it would make a big difference.
Could you do a meet here at your facility?
Oh yeah, he's
done it before.
Yeah, we've done, I think, 4 or 5 when we were down the street. I mean, so it takes a lot of work, but actually, me and Daniel we've discussed it a million times. It'd be kind of cool to do like a play-by-play, do a podcast during the meet.
Yeah.
That could be like the announcers. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, because they typically do have announcers and stuff like that. So maybe do go live and record it. It'd be pretty cool.
Be cool.
And I think if there's a way, I would be totally in agreement of how we can tie it together with. I think Jesus just spoke to us. Hey, is there another $100 bill on the ground? Let me look for some more money.
No, it's funny because the other day we've been trying to convince Michael to do a powerlifting meet for forever, and then the other day our buddy, we'll call him CB, he was sitting on the leg press.
I was like, I never met him.
He was sitting on the leg press trying to work out, and Michael's like, yeah, man, you're getting so much stronger, when's the next time you're going to max out? He's like, we should do a day where we get everybody out and we do our PRs on like bench, squat, and deadlift. That would be awesome.
I'm on the other side of the gym going, that's amazing.
That's called a powerlifting meet.
That's not exactly how that conversation
No,
went.
that is exactly. Now, if I was telling it, then it would totally be different. But Jonathan, he hit it right on the nails. That is exactly what was said and how it was said.
That is not true.
I hit the head right on the nail. Yep.
I was trying to think about that line, but I forgot what it said. I was like, I hit the nail with a hammer. I was like, it's something like that. But that is exactly.
Matillo with a tornillo.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. I didn't even know that. Oh, that's pretty good.
Matillo, yeah.
Me and Michael were
Bilingual.
talking to a buddy who said that he was the only guy who graduated in his class in high school from a small town, and he's like, "Oh man, so you were like a bull in the field of cows."
I was like, am I supposed to fill in the blank? Wait, but he graduated. He was the only boy in his graduating class.
Yes. There was like 12 girls or something like that.
What?
Or 12 people, and he was one guy of 12 people.
And the
Real
rest
small
of,
town, yeah.
But the rest of the 12 were all girls?
And he married one of them.
Oh, of course. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he had a relationship with one of them. I mean, it's pretty good odds. You have 1 for 12.
1 for 11.
I mean, if
One
you're
for
the
11,
one
yeah.
bull in the field of cows.
I'm
was-
laughing along, but I'm like, well, I mean,
Not one of my
bull.
Finder moments making a comment. Just like that.
or,
Finder moments.
Finer.
so bulls will not be with cows? Like them? They look the same. Shoot, I don't know. Yeah, but I can still test that. But like I was trying to tell you, because you're going to do a powerlifting meet, I think since you came up with the idea that you invented this new sport, that if we do it here.
I got to be lifting consistently at squat and deadlift.
Well, you can just do bench and deadlift.
Just show up and lift. I mean,
It's just for fun, but we can
just
do it.
We do a powerlifting meet to get your starting numbers, then do another one
Let's do
6
that.
months later and see how much progress
What
you make.
I was trying to say is we can do one where we can find a way to have it correlated as a kind of like a church-based or faith-based meet, because I've never participated in one, but they've done.
We do them at church,
that
but
what?
we do it for the Bible. We test your knowledge.
Oh, I'm talking about lifting though.
It's the same thing.
I definitely failed, but I'm learning. No, we can have it like a faith-based, and we can do it here.
Faith.
Faith-based.
Well, I'm sort of changing topics, but based on kind of what you just said, me and Alex were talking earlier, and I think you made a comment about like Ephesians and Galatians and these different like names of books, and he said I just struggle to remember all of those names
or say them.
or that. And my response was, well, the more you learn about them and you learn that Galatia was a place and Ephesus was a place,
Was a region.
then you say, oh, those were the Ephesians and those were the Galatians, just like we say Texan and American and, those sorts of things. You just get context around that stuff. But that was probably an over simple way of answering that question. But like anything else, if somebody walks into the gym and they work out for a month, they're not going to know everything. But after 10 years of consistent lifting, all of a sudden things make sense to you and you're coaching the next person, right? And then after 20 years, you realize you didn't know all that much at 10 years, right? It's just a continual growth process. And so in these conversations, I mean, it's really easy for people who work out to say, oh, yeah, just lift. It'll be good for your discipline. You know, somebody sitting at home going, yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start. You know, I walk into a gym, I feel intimidated because people are stronger than me, or I'm more overweight than the people there, or whatever. But hopefully in environments like a gym and a church and places where people are trying to improve themselves in whatever way, hopefully it's a community of people who want to see you get better too, because Alex also started not fit and became fit, right?
He was thick.
So did everybody else who had...
I don't know, I was a pretty athletic baby. I started walking when I was like 3-4 months, I think my mom.
3 or 4 years old.
Started walking when I was 11.
You just told me earlier that your whole family was overweight because of all the Dr. Pepper you drank.
Yeah, my dad worked at Dr. Pepper, so we had Dr. Pepper every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
In El Paso?
Cereal. I'm going to have to just give you my timeline of...
I need a map.
A map. I'll put a map out, but... I mean, I still was a pretty athletic baby. I was just overweight, and I drank a lot of Dr. Pepper and Big Red. You know.
I was pretty athletic. I was just morbidly obese, couldn't walk.
But I was still moving around. But that's one thing that I never wasn't a fan of, trying to really open up like a big box gym, because having worked out initially, you know, when I first started going to a box gym, it's just the positivity, it just wasn't there, you know, and you can tell that there was cliques, and you know, for a newbie, it's intimidating. That's why going into the New Year's, that's why all these, you know, corporate global gyms are promoting all this, because they, I mean, quite honestly, they don't care about the person. It is, they're going to become a number, because if
they want you to sign up for 12 months so that whenever you fall off, you're locked in until next January 1st rolls around, and you say, okay, I'm going to renew it, and then you fall off again, right?
Because if a gym were to actually have every single one of their members actually show up, they're going to be overcrowded. And you can go into a place and they're going to have thousands of equipment. But if they have thousand members, they all show up at the same time, or even they show up throughout the day, they're going to be overcrowded. So they want you to fall off for it. And it's not helping anybody. And that's why, you know, I've always, you know, I've kept it small, because if anybody else comes there, I do want to help them in some kind of way, you know, provide some kind of guidance, you know, where I know that I could probably actually make money off of it by just allowing anybody to come in. But it kind of defeats the purpose. And I think even for that, it's been a strange, you know, last 15 years, because I've never, like I mentioned earlier, I've been, you know, I've always had belief, you know, I was raised in a Catholic household, but I kind of lost it for a while. But I never lost that aspect of like, look, I just want everyone to be healthy and feel good and be good. I felt like if you come to the gym, at least you would get some endorphins running. You wouldn't be as depressed, stressed out. But, you know, hearing that and how it's still tying that, I'm just still amazed by it. So, I don't know.
Well, in a similar way to how you said a gym can become something it shouldn't be, which is just a big money-making machine where they don't care about people and whatever. There's a stereotype that big churches don't care about people like they should, or they don't, those sorts of things. And that could exist. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. When you think about like how do you run the finances of a church, right? Well, to some extent you have to think of it like a business, because there are bills to pay. If you're going to provide a place for people to come and worship, there's probably a mortgage on that property. There's probably a light bill and a water bill and all those sorts of things. You got people trying to travel around and preach and establish churches, and you're trying to fund that work. And so there's money that has to flow into that and all those sorts of things. But the ideal is when you have a body of believers who care about what's happening, then not everybody can support that work to the same extent. Everybody's at a different stage of life. But when you have people who want to put their minds and their effort and their time and then even money and whatever towards this kind of work, you can get a lot done. And a lot of times what you'll find is that sometimes even good people, even preachers, can get lost in numbers and trying to bring people in, that it stops becoming about the spiritual needs of a person, and it starts becoming more about attracting people just to walk into the door, right? And there's a lot of stereotypes of you show up and the worship service feels less like worship and more like a concert, and the sermon feels less like Bible teaching and more like a motivational speech, and all of those things may make us feel good, but sometimes you want to show up and have your iron sharpened, right? You're feeling dull, and you need someone to really challenge you and push you forward. And a church is supposed to be more than just somewhere you show up and drop your money in a plate and you hope to get an experience for a day. It's supposed to be a family for you. And I think it's cool seeing the same concept being built at Team Swole. Is you don't want people showing up, paying a membership fee, getting tied into a contract so that you make your money every month. You limit the number of people. You limit the size of the gym. You don't want something gigantic. You want to be able to have a personal relationship with each person in there and see them grow and that sort of thing. And I think in all aspects of life, whether that's in business, whether that's in church, whether that's in the gym or whatever, it's very, very important to keep that tight-knit group of people around you. And that's why church is so valuable to me. That's why the gym is not as important as church, but still valuable to me, because you want to surround yourself with people who have similar goals and similar aspirations, who are trying to better themselves. And when everyone's trying to better themselves, that gives an opportunity to try to better each other as well.
I think you guys were very welcoming of me at one point. I needed gas money, and they passed a little plate around, and I was like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir." I said, "Wow." I texted Melissa after I left. I said, "They even give you gas money when they know you drove so far." They pass around a little plate.
He was just sitting there praying about his financial situation. We gave him a plate of money.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said, "Well, thank you, sir." And I just passed it along to the next person. I'm going to start that in the gym after the day. I'll pass around the collection plate.
They're like, "Here's the communion bread. Okay, take a piece. Here's the grape. Oh, take a drink.
I know,
Oh, money. Take a piece."
Yeah. Because when the young man came by and I said, "Thank you." And then he just walked away, and I was like,
He's joking. He didn't steal money from a church.
I'm just kidding. I was just waiting. I built it up. I was going to say that because I saw it in a movie. I thought it would be funny, but no. I was going to joke with a guy, but he did. I was going to shoot it off.
Well, he told me this morning because he asked what time to show up. I said 10. The service started at 10:30, but everybody tries to get there early, so I told him 10.
Me.
Well, it was like 10:05 when he walked in, so he thought he was late. So he skipped breakfast to get there at 10. And so then he said, we passed communion around. He's like, "What are the spiritual implications of eating all this bread?"
Starving. Because I literally only had time to do two things: put gas or get breakfast. And like I said, breakfast is not going to make my car get over there, so I had to put gas. I didn't even have enough time to run into the gas station because it was like 9:50, and I was barely right here off of 59.
Yeah, but you couldn't like start the gas pump, go inside.
No, I only put like $6. I stayed there and pumped it, hurry, put it in. I was like, I just need a little bit to get to the church, and I'll put gas afterward. But I was so hungry, and then so when they were passing the communion around, I was like, "Oh, it looks so delicious. It looks like a flour tortilla." I did say, I was like, man, it looked tempting. But I really did. I was going to Google it. Spiritual implications if you take the communion when you haven't had your communion. But,
they had that problem in the New Testament.
Really?
People turning it into no longer a remembrance of Jesus and his body and his blood, but they just turned it into a feast, and they were overindulging in the
they're
food.
Like partying, they're like drinking it all.
Yeah, they were overindulging in the food, in the wine. People were getting drunk. Like it became a whole like.
Isn't that what's the term when you overeat and overindulge and
gluttony?
Gluttony. So is that what it's tied to, or not?
Could be. Yeah.
So
the food part for sure.
They were making it what it wasn't supposed to be. They made it about them having a good time, not remembering the Lord's sacrifice.
Oh, well, I'm glad I didn't take it out. It felt bad, but some of the money
that was Corinth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Corinthians.
Oh, I actually said it right. Damn, I can have it on tape. Very good. No, I didn't know that. I was interested, but next time I'm learning. But I was hungry. But thank you for telling me to get there early because I would have felt bad if I was late. 'Cause I was late
He
last
walked
time.
in, he like runs in, he's like,
Well,
hey guys.
well, actually, Michael sent me a message, and I was like, "How is he sending me this? And why is he not there?" And it was like 10 something. You sent me a snap, and it was of the road, and I was like 5 minutes away from the church.
He's
I was
like, ooh, at least Michael's late too.
yeah. No, actually, I beat Michael there. That's why I was like, "You're late." He was like, "It don't start till 10:30." Blah blah blah. You're a face for radio.
And then I had to leave and go back to the house and grab something my wife forgot. So
Oh, so you had been there, then you left and then came back. Oh, so you beat me. Okay.
So what's your interesting story for today?
So this tied in and going in all into the weekend about being physically strong and then now spiritually strong, because so we're preparing for the meet, and I needed to pick up one item from HEB. Was that Wednesday or Thursday? I just needed a bottle of bone broth. It was like $2. So I did the inevitable, which I advise people not to do if you have a family that really loves HEB, our grocery store. I texted and said, "Hey, do you need anything?" Of course, it was like bing, 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 bing. And I was like, oh my, I just needed one bottle of bone broth. So go to HEB. It turned from a $3 bottle of bone broth to a $63 total. And I just was like, $63 is a lot when you really don't need anything. And just to me, it just wasn't worth it. But I also had to stop at the post office to drop off some packages. So I was a little frustrated. I think I was impatient with my wife, and I think I was a little rude when she said, "Hey, did you get everything?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got the Christmas list." And of course, Christmas shopping is done. $63 later. And then
your poor wife.
She sent the message back, well, don't worry about it. And and we all know that when you get a message that says don't worry about it after you've been asked for a favor, then that typically is not a good thing. Totally. Or, hey, here's your blanket, downstairs. Hello, the door's locked. So I was driving. I generally felt bad, and I really do think about you guys when my frustration builds up, because I'm like, I think, what are my actions going to be if y'all found out if I do something stupid or if I do something? I really do feel like
that is what
because
accountability is supposed to be.
Because I'm going to tell y'all. So I feel like I was in disappointment. So I calmed down and said, you know what, I have to go to the post office. Let me just go instead of just going, because I actually wanted to go straight home, and I think I wanted to start an argument or something. I just was impatient. I said, let me calm down. Let me take my little time to the post office. And I'm thinking, all right, $63. So I put myself on a budget during the week. So I'm like, all right, I got $63. Well, I guess nothing's bought for me for the weekend. So I'm going to the post office, getting down. I'm trying to carry this big old box, and it was heavy. And I'm like, okay, I can deadlift 500 pounds, but I can't pick up this 40-pound packages. So I pick up the box. I'm walking to the door. I'm looking around. I was like, oh my God, there's nobody there to help me open it. I don't want to put it back down because I couldn't get a grip on it. So I kind of swing my foot up, kind of hit it a little bit, and then I grab it. And then right when I opened it, I felt like something hit my leg, and I kicked it because I thought that was leaves, because there's a lot of leaves right there. And I looked down, and it was a $100 bill. So I just dropped the packages. They all broke. And luckily they're shirts. So I reached down and I grabbed the $100, and I look around, and I was in amazement.
Where's Ashton? Am I getting punked right now?
I looked at it, and I'm not gonna lie, I just went, I kissed it, and I started doing my little happy dance. I was like, $100, and then first thing I was like, I spent $63, so I got something money left over.
You started doing that girl math.
Yeah. 60. Oh, yeah, I got plenty left. So I open up the door, and I just slide the box in. I jump the packages. I come out, and I'm so excited that, whenever something good happens to me, my wife is the first person I want to contact. But then I felt bad because I was already, being a butthole to her earlier. But I took a picture of it, and I sent it to her. I said, look what I found at the post office. I got my money back from HEB. She goes, well, why did you pick it up? It could have been tainted with something, or laced with a drug. I go, oh, baby, well, it's too late because I done kissed it, done rubbed it all over my I was like, oh, Lord, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, baby. Thank you. And, my ride home, the 10 minutes home, I had felt amazing. And I know when I exited off to the post office, I said, Lord, just give me the patience. Just please. Just, Alex, shut up. Because I'm a texter. Like, if I get into an argument or if I'm upset, I'm the one who never stops. And that's one thing that's always been my problem, is that if I get into an argument, I don't know how to be quiet. And I exited, and I just said, Alex, just be quiet. Just be quiet. Just, it's for the family. It's for the family. So I got the $100. I was like, oh, yeah.
And then that's the $100 you put in the plate at church.
Yes. No, I'm not even in love with that. But I told you that I reimbursed myself my $63, and then the money that was left over, the something. I told you I'm gonna go buy some toys at the store, and I know y'all having a toy drive or a present drive, right?
It ended.
Well, sorry for those kids. No, I'm just kidding. I'll find there. We have a little donation community center that's down the street. I am gonna go in because I do feel that, but it's one thing to find $1, $10, but what's crazy, this is like the third or fourth time that I've found a $100 bill on the ground. Like it's crazy, but yeah, luckily the $100 wasn't laced with anything. I'm not having any repercussions or anything of anything. I'm just kidding.
I didn't notice anything different.
Yeah,
I think the popcorn was laced with something based on my sentence earlier. I tried to get out.
I think maybe because it is a lot oily than I thought. Maybe your lips just slipped while you were trying to talk.
Yeah, that's the next logical thing. Yes.
We're going to start a new segment called Alex's Interesting Story of the Week, because just so many wild things happen to you.
I don't know. That's what I was. But that's what I was trying to. I was thinking about. I was like, I have to be so positive in how my life has been so far, because I know that and I genuinely believe that there's no way that I would be sitting here right now if it wasn't for God looking over me. Because my stories it's like a testament of, if not even where, because everything, I can honestly, probably 99% of everything was self-inflicted. And I still found a way to see a light. I'm here to talk about it. I say it in a joyful way, but it's always because it's like, it's amazing. And I don't believe it's luck. I do not believe it's luck. I'm not going to, that's why I never, when I found the $100, I didn't say I was lucky. I said I was blessed. Because that is, and then we said it earlier today. I sent a picture to Michael that I went back to HEB and I was buying some more stuff, and I spent more than really I should have. And he says, well, why don't you go find another $100? Then I come in this afternoon, I'm talking to Jonathan, and somebody left me one of my lifters from Saturday left me a card with a gift card in there for $200.
So one for you, one for me.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I should start saying it, because my luck started really evolving when I came around y'all. Man, I feel like I'm one of those kind of like.
I think it goes back to when you do more to other people, you find more fulfillment in just the small things. Because when you're so focused on yourself, you miss those moments of just goodness, right? But when you're focused on blessing somebody else and helping people and being a good person, you start feeling built up and rejuvenated when you see small little victories in your life, whether it's in something you've done for somebody else and it builds them up. Well, it makes you feel good about helping that person out. And then when that person reciprocates that and does something small for you, you're like, man, that feels good, But that's because you've changed your mindset, your thought process, and wanting to help other people. But you said something a second ago that made me think of this. It's like you talked about this kid from El Paso, and you're here now, and you have all these experiences and all these things that have happened to you, poor decisions, good decisions, or whatever. It's like, man, I'm blessed to be in the spot that I am today, and what a crazy journey it's been to get to where I'm at today. And I think about that a lot personally. It's like I was born in Germany, and my mom just moved to the States, just to move to the States. Eventually she met my stepfather, who just happened to want to move to Texas. Just want to move there. So we moved there and moved to Houston. I mean, Texas is a huge state.
Yeah.
And we chose Houston. And then I met the people I met the church, and met my wife, and all those things, and all those connections I built. I mean, this wouldn't have happened if my mom had not made a decision to move to the United States. It would not have my life would have been a lot different had she not decided to go and be with my stepdad, or move to Texas. And if he wanted to go to Louisiana instead of Texas, I mean, my life would have just been so different. Just all these little big decisions, but little impacts in my life, man, has molded where I'm at today. And I'm like, man, how crazy God's providential care, God's providential, or his oversight, his hand in my life, because I've given my life to him. And it's just like, man, there's these opportunities. And when we stop worrying about ourselves and we worry about other people, man, we see much more blessings in life. So,
have you ever heard of Judas in the Bible?
Just in the concept of
the Bible?
No. Part of the Scooby-Doo collection. No. No.
To summarize,
no. I wasn't even going to say that. You literally made me forget my plan.
In the context
I was about
Scripture.
to Jonathan you. I was literally about to Jonathan. Michael Jenkins, let me finish, but I literally forgot what I just was going to say. Did you not? You can see the way I look at you. I was going to Michael Jenkins you, respect your elders. And then I completely forgot. I know he wasn't a good guy. So,
right. So Judas was
he was a traitor.
Was one of the disciples, and he basically betrayed Jesus, turned him in to be killed, right?
Right.
Well, have you ever heard the phrase WWJD? Or
what would Jesus do?
Yes, that basically. My WWJD is, what would Judas do? And whatever he would do, I don't do that thing.
That's actually pretty good.
That's how I remain loyal to my friends. That had nothing to do with this conversation. I just thought that
does, because I was thinking about disowning Michael until I was decided right now, what would Judas do? He would probably disown Michael, but I don't want to do that because they didn't give me a chance to answer. I knew I wasn't going to give the whole story like he just did, but I knew he was a traitor. I just couldn't think of the word traitor. I was going to say traitor.
In the context of...
Yeah, I was going to say like he traded.
I will say though, we too give up Jesus for a lot less in our life. He gave Jesus up because he had a love for money. But there are people out there that give up Jesus for a lot less.
Yeah.
Pride and all that's probably still rooted in the 30 pieces of silver and all that. But we too do that at times when we fail, and we give him up for selfish pleasures or drugs and alcohol or whatever. But we give him up too, and we can be a Judas. Now, we can be a lifestyle of a Judas behavior, or we can have moments where we may act like a Judas, but we just got to be careful, though. We give him up too. We point to him and say, well, he's a bad guy. He made poor decisions, and his poor decisions ultimately ended his life, but there was still, I believe there was hope for him, and he just gave up and was willing to quit, and we got to be careful that we don't do that same thing.
You know how his life ended? He ended up killing himself because of the regret of what he did.
Yeah.
And
the irony.
You think about all the people you read through the scriptures, of all the horrible things that happened and the amount of grace that was offered to people who could turn their lives around. And that same grace was available for Judas. And he gave up.
Because Judas was a good guy. And I know that because Jesus asked Judas to follow him. There was something in Judas that Jesus asked him, follow me. Come with me. Let me teach you. There were some qualities about Judas that were awesome and were great. But what did Judas struggle with? The same thing you and I struggle with. Sin. That's what he struggled with. Now, it overtook him, and he couldn't he just gave up. And we have to be careful of not doing that same thing. So although we point to him and say, yeah, he's a bad guy and all that, well, there was a lot of good in him too. And Jesus saw that good. And Jesus can see that same good in you and everyone here and everyone listening. It's up to you to make those decisions over a long period of time to serve and to put your pride aside. So,
Hebrews 6 talks about how when we choose to walk contrary to what we know is right, we are choosing to put Jesus on the cross. We are choosing to drive another nail through his hands or put another whip to his back and all those sorts of things. Imagine knowing what somebody went through for you so that you could live a better life. And regardless of all that he went through to take the punishment for you and let you go walk new, you choose to spit in his face and go right back to what he is trying to save you from, right? And so Hebrews 6 puts that into perspective. And I was just reading that the other day going, whew, man. And I do it every day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Every single day you make a decision and you stop and you go, what am I doing? You know, but I'd venture to say we'd be more careful about that if we had been there, if we had seen it, right? And so you have to make it real to you. Just because you were not there to see it, it happened. It's history. And understanding that this is not a guy who lived 2,000 years ago, but this is a God who lives today, and all of your secret thoughts and all of your secret sin is visible to him. And you are breaking his heart, and you are whipping his back, and you are driving nails with every single decision you take to make to spit in his face and go back to that old life. Yeah. Just puts a lot of things in perspective.
That's deep. Very.
But you remember the Samson story.
Strength like this.
Because you were just, oh yeah. Hey, he made me this shirt, by the way. Nice. But you were talking about how you've self-inflicted problems on yourself in the past and whatever. That's exactly what Samson did. It was a series of horrible decisions. But at the end, he accepted the consequences that came with it. He knew he was going to die as a result of it and those sorts of things. But where did he turn? Back to God.
But did he make a change at the end before, or he was killed because of his actions? That's what I think.
Judas?
Samson.
It seems like Samson made a change for several reasons. One, you turn to the New Testament, and in Hebrews 11 it talks about people who are revered for their faith throughout history. And Samson was one of those people. So he still went down in history as a righteous, faithful man, even after all of his decisions. But at the end, he didn't just scream and kick and cry and try to punch at the Philistines. He had been humbled to a point where he realized his faith did not come from him. It came from God. And so he said one final prayer, and he prayed, and he said, basically, I know I'm going to die today, but give me the strength that it takes to take down your enemies with me. Cool. Right? So at the end, he accepted and he realized where the strength came from, and he turned back to God, and he was able to destroy his enemies. Now, he still suffered the consequence, which was he died with them. You think about decisions we make, there's decisions with lasting consequences, right? I mean, you kill somebody, the person's not coming back to life. You take smaller issues. You don't control yourself sexually in your youth. You've got children to care for now, right? Not that they're a burden, but that's the result of your actions, right? Now you have a responsibility that comes with those decisions that you made. You think about substance abuse. Well, you can get clean, but there may be physical health implications of those decisions that you made. And Samson's decision cost him his life, but he still was able. His physical life, it was gone. But spiritually, I believe he was able to turn himself around at the end. Really, God was able to bring him out of that with the strength that didn't come from Samson. And so I just think of that story when I'm listening to you, is that, we bring a lot of things on ourselves, but at the end, there is always grace. As long as we're breathing, there's hope to turn it around and go back. So just reminded me of the story.
Very good. Learn something new every week.
Good show.
Yeah.
Good show.
So are we doing the outro? We're not doing that no more? I thought we're the news backdrop we do. Yo, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Love you all. Peace. 3 fingers.